Well, good afternoon, early evening, everyone. 48 First Alert meteorologist Chelsea Aaron here to take you throughout the rest of the evening. And many of you might have several questions regarding the storm threat. So hopefully I'm able to answer them and maybe ease some concerns as we head through your Sunday night. Note we do have a tornado watch now issued just to our west. This is going to be butted up against the Alabama-Mississippi state line. No watches yet for us, but I have been in coordination with the National Weather Service. They've been in talks with the Storm Prediction Center, so I'm going to let you know what to expect tonight in terms of watches, potential warnings, and of course the main impacts. Currently all dry across the Tennessee Valley, at least for the most part. Live look at Madison and I-565, where it has just been a windy day. Now clouds continue to increase from the west. This is ahead of our next weather maker in the form of a cold front that will be bringing a pretty intense line of thunderstorms, especially for areas along and west of I-65. No changes with our current thinking. The overall threat for a severe storm is quite low, but I can't rule out a rogue storm or two, potentially producing isolated damaging wind gusts. Maybe some larger hail. We're talking inch in diameter. That's around quarter size, very heavy rainfall. And a lot of people asking me about the tornado threat as well. Note, we cannot completely rule it out. It's not zero, but it is very low. Primary impacts continue to be straight line wind gust, hail, heavy rain, and frequent lightning. So just tracking cloud cover and windy conditions. You know, temperatures very warm today, and there's part of that tornado watch that has been issued for areas to our west and also to our north across western Tennessee. That line of storms starting to form really from Nashville back into northern Mississippi, also tracking some storms back into Arkansas, and this will basically congeal into a messy setup once it reaches the northwest corner of the state around 6 and 7 o'clock. And I have made a timeline that could be useful once we head throughout the evening hours. This is not a time to panic. Again, this is not a significant severe weather setup, but we are going to be watching radar trends quite closely. I recommend you do the same. Download our 48 First Alert weather app. Have multiple ways to receive watches and warnings. If need be, I'll break into programming, of course. So we're going to be keeping you updated and safe as we head throughout the rest of the night. And the good news is, once we head into your next work and school week, we're in for a fantastic stretch of weather. So winds, no surprise, they have been gusty as expected out of the south. This is helping to pull not only warm air, but also very moist air. I'll show you dew points in a minute. And dew points are a really good tool that we utilize when dealing with several things, especially severe weather. Note, dew points were relatively low, very dry air mass yesterday, with most of us sitting in the 30s, but now dew points have risen into the upper 50s, near 60 degrees, and some of this more moist air could fuel, again, those stronger, even marginally severe storms in areas like Lauderdale County, back towards Franklin, and also Colbert County. We do have a wind advisory. This is going to extend through 10 o'clock tonight. Sustained wind speeds anywhere from 15 to 25 miles per hour. Gusts will be much higher, likely between 30 and 40 miles per hour. And just to show you what the temperatures are like, if you've been outside, it's honestly been a gorgeous day up to this point, but yes, changes are coming. Middle upper 70s there in the Shoals across several areas. Athens, Decatur sitting at 76 degrees. And here are the dew point temperatures. This is what I was talking about. It feels more muggy the farther west you go. And again, the farther west you go, those are some of the better ingredients that we have in terms of severe weather, but the highest severe risk is still going to be staying well to our west, mainly across the state line there. And again, no tornado watch as of right now. The National Weather Service will likely extend that tornado watch for portions of our area, potentially even the entire area later on this evening. I'll be bringing you those updates whenever we have them. But again, no one in the Tennessee Valley yet under a watch. And the National Weather Service has an update, so I'm just waiting for that real quick. just to make sure it isn't this new tornado watch coming. They likely said that it would be issued anywhere from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock this evening. And if I had to guess, it's going to be running along the I-65 corridor in west. So know where you live on a map. This would include Athens, Decatur, Hartselle, Coleman, back through Double Springs, Lawrence County, Moulton, the Shoals, Russellville, Hamilton. Does this mean you're going to see a tornado in your area tonight? No. But these are some of the trends that we will be watching for. Any brief rotation. And these will likely be brief spin up in nature, very isolated. These are not going to be strong. They're not going to be long track. We're talking EF0, EF1. But don't discount the damaging wind threat either. A lot of people get hung up on the tornado threat. And no, it doesn't matter if you have 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts spinning or in a straight line. It's going to do the same amount of damage. Sometimes even more damage if you see some straight line wind gusts. So we'll be watching for these multi-cluster cells that race to the east quite quickly, and this is going to be a weakening line of storms. Again, the primary severe threat well removed from the Tennessee Valley, so they could be very intense initially as they cross over the state line, but they're going to lose their strength quite quickly as they race to the east. So areas in far northeast Alabama, you may be wondering, hey, are we going to see Sand Mountain magic tonight? More than likely, no. You could end up just seeing rain and maybe hearing several rumbles of thunder. These are going to be noisy storms, especially where we have some higher instability out west. Instability has been the key here. It's been quite limited overall. But we do have decent wind shear. And you need these ingredients to hit just right. And that has been the question since we've been watching this threat over the past several days. It has been very borderline. So again, no tornado watch just yet. I will continue to provide updates if that changes. Here's your storm timeline, roughly northwest Alabama. Earliest arrival, likely 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, so within the next few hours. Your exit time, 9 o'clock. Areas along the I-65 corridor in yellow. This includes Decatur, Athens, back through Coleman. Metro Huntsville area, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the evening. And areas in northeast Alabama in the red, 9 o'clock to midnight. And any threat of strong to severe storms will likely be winding down before midnight, well before then. Note the colors on this timeline have nothing to do with intensity. And the highest threat, which again the threat is quite low overall, is going to exist for areas along and west of I-65. This will weaken as it pushes east. Primary impacts, damaging wind gusts that could exceed 60 miles per hour. Hail could be dime size, maybe even quarter size. Quarter size is when it starts to do damage. And then very heavy rainfall. We're going to become rain cooled very quickly because again, we don't have a lot of instability to work with, very limited. And then once we see this messy setup and a lot of these storms basically merge onto themselves, it's just going to become a very heavy rain, noisy storm producer, if that makes sense. A lot of lightning, heavy rainfall rates. We could see rain through the overnight hours, but the rain's going to be out of here before your early morning commute. So just taking you out hour by hour. Again, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. That's when storms will start to enter into northwest Alabama. And it's not going to be a pretty linear feature. It will try to take the shape of one as it pushes south-southeast through the area, but it's going to be a pretty messy storm mode. And we'll primarily be watching for those multi-cell or multi-cluster cells. And this just in from the National Weather Service, they look to start watch coordination within the next 10 to 15 minutes. They're still uncertain in exact location and whether they are going to issue a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch. Current thinking is to issue a watch for northwest Alabama, west of I-65, but waiting to hear what Storm Prediction Center proposes as far as, again, the differentiation between a tornado or a severe watch. National Weather Service leaning more with a severe thunderstorm watch. I concur. But again, they will continue to coordinate with the Storm Prediction Center before they finalize those plans. We should be able to give you an exact answer during our 5 o'clock show that will be coming up here soon. And do not worry, we are going to be streaming throughout the evening. And again, just monitoring this threat very closely, because it's not one that jumps out and screams at you. Very, very borderline. So again, storms entering into northwest Alabama right around 6, 7 o'clock, and we do have a very narrow window if we do see severe storms for them to develop. And what we're watching is the surface-based instability, because model guidance has been pretty clear in keeping the majority of these storms elevated. And that means they're not rooted at the surface. Now, granted, you still can get some strong gusty winds and hail from elevated storms, but surface-based storms, that is what would increase the risk of severe weather and or a tornado. Which again, the tornado threat, it's low, but it's enough to mention. So northwest Alabama, you'll take the hardest hit, more than likely. It will slowly sink to the south and east and start to wind down really after 8:30 in your area. And then it will be racing to the east, weakening as it moves toward the I-65 corridor and along Sand Mountain. For Jackson County back into Marshall County, had someone from Albertville text me today or message me. Do we need to have a safety plan in place? You should always have a safety plan in place. We live in Alabama, for goodness sake. Dixie Alley were hot spots for severe weather, and we just dealt with a pretty significant severe weather event this past weekend. So that is something that should always be at the forefront of your mind in case you need to utilize it. Is this going to be one of those evenings? More than likely, no. But it only takes one to impact you directly. So keep that in mind. Highest risk will be for areas to the west, with a gradual weakening trend. We get closer to midnight, and much of this is just going to be rain. Areas in northeast Alabama, the only impacts you might see is just heavy rainfall and occasional lightning. Rain could still persist overnight, but it will continue to sink south and east out of the area through the very early morning hours on Monday. The clouds will gradually clear, and Monday is a great start to the work and school week. And this is just some of the dynamics that we've been looking at throughout the day. And we saw sunshine very early, but the clouds started to move in. And we were trying to see basically how quickly the clouds would move in, because that would limit a lot of the surface-based instability that could be apparent, especially for northeast Alabama. Right now, 500 joules per kilogram, that could be reached. That's all you really need for severe weather. Some places reading higher, but I will say the models in particular the HRRR. That's the high resolution rapid refresh model. That has been quite aggressive since yesterday. Does that mean I'm trying to scare you? No, because the HRRR has been an outlier, basically, to the rest of the models. The models have not been showing parameters that high. And we don't focus on outliers, we just mention them. So highest instability, even though it's limited, still going to exist over northwest Alabama. They're going to be strong initially, but look what happens. Once we head into the 7 or past 7 o'clock hour towards 8, the instability just plummets down, which is a good thing. This is going to become rain-cooled very quickly. And just looking at the EHI, this is the Energy Helicity Index. This combines not only the storm fuel, but also the wind shear. So think instability and shear. And all you really need are numbers close to 1 or more. And again, those are existing over far northwest Alabama. Can't rule out a rogue severe thunderstorm or 2. I would expect this more than likely areas to the west. If you live in Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin County, maybe even clipping Lawrence County into Limestone County. You are the ones I'd say, hey, maybe watch weather updates frequently this evening. The rest of you more than likely will not see any impacts. Heavy rain, that's really the only guarantee I can give you this evening. Higher totals out west. Most locations will pick up 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain. But areas to the east, you'll likely see lower totals, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And then one last look at your 7 to 10 day forecast before I let you go here. And again, you can join us at 5 o'clock. Now, depending on golf, we could be delayed. Yesterday we were delayed. We still had a full show though. That's just going to be largely dependent on our scheduled programming, whether we are delayed, canceled completely, but rest assured that I will be streaming online. I more than likely will be starting a Facebook Live, especially whenever we finally have the watch, whether it's a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch. I'm leaning more towards severe thunderstorm watch, and so is the National Weather Service. So rest assured, maybe I can ease your minds. This is not going to be a significant severe weather outbreak by any means. This is going to be very isolated in nature. The rain will move out quickly overnight. Skies gradually clearing on Monday, slightly cooler with high temperatures dropping back into the upper 60s, but we quickly warm back into the 70s. And look at that nice stretch of weather we have. Spring-like with overnight lows in the 40s and 50s, near 80 degrees likely on Friday, close to 80 as well Tuesday. Next chance for rain not going to arrive until likely next weekend. Right now it's looking like late Saturday evening and into Sunday. No signals for any severe weather, but there are signals that the weather is going to be more active once we head into April. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and again, we will be providing more updates on air online. As always, download our 48 First Alert weather app, and I will see y'all hopefully at 5 o'clock.